Oh, we missed some good stuff then. After just hitting record.
That's all right. We'll
Suppose
hit record from the start next time.
yeah, I suppose it shouldn't go on the air, should it? That kind of thoughts.
Well, that's meant to be the fun stuff, isn't it? In
Yeah,
between.
yeah.
How you doing?
Yeah, snap. Same. All good. I'm a little bit knackered, but I think that's because I don't know how to put it, express it actually. I've sort of just been paddling through the storm. I haven't sat back and waited for it to pass. I think that's just what knackered us a little bit this week. But how about you?
Have you found it changes every single day? Like I have it that I have like it's not on like a weekly basis or anything. It's like a daily basis. I'm feeling different. Some days I'm feeling great. Some days I'm feeling rubbish, and that's everything in between. It's a bit of a mix.
I'm finding it at the moment changing like in the day, in the sections of the day,
Yeah,
from morning
yeah.
to evening. Yeah, most definitely. And it's yeah. So sometimes, especially with everything one's trying to do, and with three kids running around and everything, sometimes you don't even aware of what's going on. I had that a little while ago. It's just like a usual day, and
Yeah.
then I turned around and it's like, whoa, we're actually we're in real historic times again. But yeah, no, most definitely, I see what you mean. Like, not that there's an equilibrium all the time with things, but I think one finds a happy place personally quite a lot of the time. I've got quite
Mm.
good at that, and then I'm gonna have to get a light on my face, aren't I? I just look like I'm on the dark side.
It'll
I'll
help.
sort that out next time. But yeah, it's most weird, isn't it? Most strange that.
Yeah, it really is. So we got a few topics to go through this week. I know you added a few towards the end. So what I've it just made me chuckle the other day that it was 420, and I don't know if you've heard of this term before in the
Enlighten me.
slightest. 420 it's basically International Smoke Marijuana Day, if
Okay.
that's what you're inclined to do. And it's the 20th of April, but obviously the Americans, they do it the other way around. So they go month and
Yeah.
then day. And I just got me thinking about it because I think the culture and attitude to all that stuff has changed. And it almost seems a bit redundant now to have like a celebratory day. Because for some people, it's just a very standard practice now. And for others, it's still just, they don't do it, but they don't really take issue with anyone else who does. I don't know. It came to my mind because I just remember being younger and it being a lot bigger of a deal than it seems to be these days. I don't personally partake in it, but I just came to my
What,
mind.
marijuana or drugs, or what itself?
Yeah, I guess the whole thing, but in particular marijuana, because I think that there's now, that whole CBD thing, which is like the medical stuff without
Yes.
all the getting you high and all the rest of it. So it seems that people are starting to see the medicinal side, with kind of without it just being a bit of a joke as an excuse to
I ca-
take the stuff.
I can't remember what the program was actually. Now that you've said that, Lauren was watching the other day, and there's a state in America. I think it was just someone traveling around America, one of those kind of shows. I can't remember what it was now. They've been to like a state where basically all of their income in this state. Or it might just be in a town, maybe not as big as a state, maybe like a city or something. All of their income, like for government and everything else, comes from the prisons in this town,
Right.
and it's like prisons are their bread and butter. And then there was another one where they went to, and their entire infrastructure, like this whole town has been built, this main street, and all the people that live there, just about marijuana. So yeah, it's one of the places that people from all over the world supposedly go to get it, because you can get it in every single shape and form and everything else. But yeah,
Yeah, well, I think it's Colorado where it's legal in the states,
maybe
as
it's
in
even there.
legal to have stores and buy and sell and grow the whole shebang.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, for me, my own personal input on it, I have never actually myself touched a drug, consumed a drug not willingly myself. I've been
Mm.
around people that have, and I suppose I've been in a room where people have, and that's, I think maybe it's like secondhand smoke. Is it the I don't know what the terminology, but I've never actually held a cigarette myself. As far as that, and nothing else other than like alcohol, I suppose. There's no other drug that's passed me. But then that's where I would then sort of say, like, I have no problem with it. So if people do it, I've got absolutely no problem with it. I wouldn't want someone doing like an A-class drug in front of me. I couldn't think of a situation why that would be acceptable, reasonable to do. And obviously, I wouldn't be pleased if my children were doing it. Even marijuana, I suppose I would steer them away from doing it, just on a principle thing. I feel I'm a man of principle and I live by principles, and I suppose I just never have, just out of principle, because I've always seen it as something not good for you. And I was to a degree with that with alcohol as well. Went for a long time where I didn't touch alcohol because it just didn't need to factor in my life more than anything. But then I've recently got into mixology and been able to enjoy a drink with Lauren, with my other half, in that sense of being able to enjoy a drink. And that's the only way I drink. I don't just drink because we're at a party or just drink because it's a Friday or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'm the same. I've no appeal with that. The only reason I even brought it up was I watched the Joe Rogan podcast a lot, and he's quite a big advocate of smoking marijuana and even things such as DMT, which is like mind-altering drugs. And I just know that it's just the culture has changed around it in the sense that it's a lot more easier to discuss it now, and it seems to be a lot more prevalent in things like music and people discussing it, and it doesn't seem to carry, at least marijuana, the same stigma that it did kind of back when we were younger.
I don't really take much note of the world, so I probably missed that anyway. But, yeah, I live in my own little bubble, don't I? I'm surprised that coronavirus got into my bubble, actually. I've actually heard about it.
I guess once it affects you directly, then you're like, oh, that's a thing.
Yeah. It's like, I can remember when we had that thing with the clouds that was going into the engines, the volcanic stuff and all of that. I can remember going to the dojo and people would jump. Do you remember with the planes?
I don't remember this. No.
Yeah, they grounded all the planes because there was a volcanic.
Right. Yeah.
A little while ago. And it must have been going for about a week or something. And there was people in the dojo going, "Oh my gosh, this, that, I'm not there." And I was like, "What? What's going on?" It's like, no, but yeah, back to the whole drug thing. I think, marijuana. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but I would steer my own children away from it because I do know of people, close people, that have overused it. And it has had, they categorically say it has had a negative effect on them.
Yeah, well, they call that one a gateway drug, don't they? So in itself is probably not that bad, but it kind of leads you down a path of doing things that maybe are a bit stronger or doing a lot more of it. And even if it's not, let's say, bad for you, it certainly does alter your state. And it's a question of why do you feel the need to alter your state? And why are you not okay with what your regular state is?
Yeah. But then again, is changing your state, is that not any different to exercise?
No, well, and I guess this is why, or a big part of why we've never had that much interest in it. Because I think if you, especially say getting on a mat or getting in a ring and fighting someone, there's not many highs like that. And then the high of winning and all the rest of it, that's a high in of itself. And I think a lot of people can get very addicted to that and chase that. And, even to the extent of destroying their bodies to feel that, feel that.
Yeah, 100%.
In the same way. So I guess it's just a different way of packaging it, isn't it? But still an addiction to a sensation.
I did say to our lot, actually, leading up to the British Championships, because we've had such a good run of events recently, people doing well, particularly, our own daughter Cece in that. And I was saying to him before the British, I was saying, look, guys, I'm addicted to winning. it's like it is a drug, and it's like the Irish Open when I was there, and like CC won, and then James was winning into the finals and that. It's like I'm addicted to this. It's like it
Mm.
actually makes me go a little bit loopy. It's like Roy Baker came over and he was like, Jay, just calm down a bit. And it's like, no, I'm buzzing off of this. But on the flip side, like you bring it up, saying 420, whatever the topic is we're talking about. On the flip side, I do think though there's a lot of what's the right words, hypocrites, or I don't know what the right word. Maybe you can find the word. For instance, in our country, marijuana's bad, isn't it? You get caught with it, you're in trouble in that. But
Mhm.
I don't think the same stigma is associated to, say, alcohol, or the same
No.
rules and laws are to other things. So, for instance, I know it's not right or practical, but it's like either make everything legal and let people just get on with it and try and control it in a safe way that maybe they do with alcohol. And just look at tobacco now, can't you, as an example? Or surely you've got to put everything in the same boat. Like, I would have thought there's more deaths, or it isn't 1 in 3 hospital admissions related to alcohol, be it
Oh, I'm
the
sure that's
alcohol
at least,
itself,
to be honest,
or the accident caused by it, or the
being intoxicated.
yeah,
Yeah,
in some way. So
I'm sure it is at least.
shouldn't that have the same to? But and then eating, shouldn't that be if you're going to legalize, if you're going to have some kind of restriction law on cannabis, so shouldn't eating be as well, like sweets and bad food? Because how many people are addicted to eating crap?
Yeah, well, yeah, but then it's the whole thing of free choice and the freedom to do what you like, isn't it? So you're free to eat what you want, you're free to drink what you want to a certain extent, but yeah, there is no repercussions for overindulging and having a heart attack and costing the NHS all this money because you couldn't control your cravings.
Yeah, maybe
That
someone
that
watching
whole
this
addiction thing is nice.
maybe someone watching this could enlighten us on that. Like, I've got my own principles that I stick to. Like, I don't touch drugs. I'm not offended if others do. But yeah, maybe someone else could enlighten a bit more on
I
that.
get the feeling it might be to do with just how historical alcohol is. Like it's been around for such a long time, and maybe I don't know,
Has it
internationally and
more than
worldwide.
has it more than the other drugs and that?
Well, I guess marijuana being a plant has been around as long as, but maybe not around the world because marijuana, I assume, needs a certain
Or
climate
I
in
want
order
you to
to
get me some
grow.
history. I want you to get me some
We're gonna have
history.
we'll research. We'll come back to it. But I know alcohol because you can make it out of all sorts of different things. Whether you've got a potato or you've got a grape, whether you got sun or you got cloud. Everyone had, and every country had their own alcohol. And alcohol and that whole process of fermenting was actually a really important way of storing food before we had refrigerators and before we had the ability to sterilize. The process of fermentation was a big way of having a clean drink, because if you couldn't have water you'd have wine because you could make sure the wine was clean through the process of fermentation. So I get the feeling it might just be that it's ingrained in so many cultures across the world for such a long time, whereas marijuana, I'm sure in certain areas where it grew and they figured it out early, it was a thing, but for other parts of the world they've probably never seen it, never touched it till it was
Yeah, that
imported.
makes sense. Yeah. So, for instance, the British Isles, we wouldn't have grown it here, would we, until it'd been brought here?
Yeah. So but again, that's us making certain levels of assumption or
Yeah.
an educated guess, if
Yeah.
nothing else.
Yeah.
Other than that, and I guess that kind of leads into it somehow in that idea of what we restrict and what we don't. Ramadan starts today, so a lot of
Yeah.
people are starting a month of fasting, and kind of I know beyond the fasting, there's also kind of going inward a little bit. The idea is that you should live a bit more of a quiet and peaceful lifestyle and less focus on business and relationships and all the way, and just get a bit more inwards, which is interesting with the times we're in because we're kind of all forced into that to a certain extent.
Yeah, most definitely. I only saw today actually the reference of that. You know, I don't follow the faith myself, and obviously not. Usually, we know about it because we have a number of students that practice, and
Practicing.
they will say, look, we won't be able to train, or they may be having to cut down, or that kind of thing. And yeah, now you bring it up, I suppose first time sort of think about that one. I suppose we're all kind of in some ways following that. And I would say, I don't know what you've done the last couple of weeks, but you seem to be actually eating more. But we've actually looked at, or you know, partly from a financial point of view, we've had to look at what we're eating and everything. Not
Yeah.
eat less, but well, in some degrees, it's like, for instance, orange juice. Like I normally have a glass of orange juice. We're making sure just we're having a smaller glass of orange juice and things like that. Not going as far as, you know, not having food or water, you know, during daylight hours. But yeah, interesting. I suppose it's all to cleanse the body, is it not? And mind.
Yeah, there's different parts to it. I think a big part of it was the idea of becoming empathetic to those with less. So you
Okay.
experience what it was like to be poor and what it was like to go without food, so that you could develop a level of empathy for people. So it became one of the, I believe it's one of the pillars of Islam, this whole principle of fasting, because it's to build empathy in society. It's to try to make people understand that, you know, you might have an all right life and you might have been lucky to be born into a certain, you know, class or certain family, but not everyone is. And to just put you in someone else's shoes. I think that was, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that's the origins of their intentions with it. And again, anyone who's watching this can hopefully comment and give us a bit more
Yeah,
information.
excuse my ignorance on that, but
That's fine.
I can tell if I was asked the question and had to answer, what I believed it to be was following what they would refer to as one of their saints, or trying to think of the word, uh, prophets, or
Yeah.
again, not wishing to insult the with what I've said, but and one of them went on a journey or something. I thought that was kind of part of it, to sort of make
Yeah, I
yourself
believe it is
suffer.
the story. He walked across the desert or something for 30 days with no food or water.
Hmm.
So I believe, yeah, yeah. But every culture has it in some way, don't they? Because Christianity has Lent and the whole idea of giving something up, and I believe a lot of other cultures, Buddhism, etc., have a form of fasting or some form of self-sacrifice at some stage. So I think
Yeah,
that seems to be across the board with all of them in one way or another.
yeah, I think like we could talk about religion till the cows come home, couldn't you? But my experience is a lot of the religions do have very similar but different names for the same thing, and
Mm.
ultimately, I suppose it's all aiming to make you a better person, isn't it? A good thing, or
Yeah,
control you.
it's yeah, it's guidelines, isn't it? For and these days you don't really need it in the set. Well, you know, some people do, but I don't personally feel like I need a guidebook. But I think your upbringing and your parents and what you're exposed to, that is your guidebook, because that's how you develop your moral compass for things
Hmm.
and figure out what you value and what you care about. But I understand in a time before where we weren't able to record things the way we are now and pass on knowledge the way we were now, that having stories and ideas and concepts like that made it easier for generation to generation to just pass on good morals and good things. And again, it's not to try and belittle it or say that it's all not real. You know, everyone believes what they believe, don't they? But you can see, even if it's not something you believe in, you can see why someone
And
would be drawn
it's
to
a
it.
sheer number that how many people are practicing Ramadan right now? It's a sheer number, isn't
Yeah,
it?
massive. I believe again we should do a bit more research before we start. But I think that's the largest religion in terms of numbers.
Is it
I believe so. I believe Islam is the largest in terms of actual active
practicing
followers.
active? Okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
But again, it's interesting how it juxtaposes with what's going on in the world right now, because whether you follow a faith like that or not, we are all currently being put in a situation of some kind of restriction on
Yes.
the way we live our lives. Whether you like it or not, we're all being restricted to a certain extent. So it's interesting for people who practice something like that on a regular basis, and they understand that. I wonder if they handle things differently to people who have never. We were saying last week that some people have never been put in a tough situation. They've got no
Mm.
experience of dealing with life getting a bit hard. So this might be the first time, and you said it was going to make or break people. So interesting to know if things like fasting give people more strength in these times or not.
Yeah, or people turn to religion in these times.
Yeah, I imagine so. More so than before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You had a topic for us?
I did. Well, I don't think in our regular weekly chats we've ever spoken about religion, have we? I suppose maybe in some kind of
No,
context or not.
we might have touched on it. I think, I mean, I've always assumed that you weren't.
Yeah.
I guess that's why it's maybe never come up. I've just always assumed that
Yeah,
that you weren't at all.
I wouldn't say I'm an atheist. Did you say you're an atheist? You said that last week, didn't you? Is
When
that you?
I've looked at the descriptions, that is the one that I'd say I associate the strongest to.
So the atheist is someone that believes there is nothing, though, isn't it? At the end of the day, he believes that when your time comes to an end, however you look at it, there is no further God. It's basically science in a nutshell, isn't it? It's start end,
Yeah.
black and white. It's 1 and 0. It's on and off. It's like there's no more to it than what we can see and prove.
Yes, I have, and that's only again, and I guess you just don't know until the lights go out.
Yeah.
There is no way to prove it otherwise. There is just no one who can possibly give us any evidence that there is anything afterwards. So in my mind, I get peace with the fact that, okay, well, then there is nothing afterwards. And if anything, it just helps me to value what I have when I have it for the time being. That's me personally. And I completely get people who don't, but I'd assume that you'd be a bit more, I guess the word's agnostic. Is that what
Yeah,
they say? Where,
for some reason I like the word spiritualist, but I think if you
yeah,
said that, people think you're a little bit. Well, I am a bit of a hippie, I suppose. I drive a
yeah, you are.
VW. I did have long hair, but I suppose if you said you're a spiritualist, I think people believe you believe in like talking to spirits and reincarnation and all of those kind of things. I wouldn't say I don't, but then I wouldn't say I do. I believe there is something. I believe there's something more than what science can prove. Just through my own experiences in life and through seeing death and yeah, sacrifices and achievements and everything else in between. I just feel there has to be some, or maybe it's even I want there to be something more. It'd be like if they could prove that it's just on and off, it'd be like, oh, that's a shame. I'd feel a bit like that.
It's a bit anticlimactic, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I'd accept it. I could carry on. It'd be all right. But I would say that, yes, I suppose that agnostic, without looking it up in the dictionary, I suppose that would probably sum up. So yeah, there you go. That's why we probably never spoke about religion before. So, hey, doing this exercise, we've learned something more about each other. What I
There
was
we
going
go.
to like, I think it would be a bit more of our actual usual weekly conversation is logistics. I don't know how, like you're saying, it's changing day, hour by hour for you, but I just find the whole logistics of things at times is just a bloody nightmare, as in you can feel it sitting on like a monkey on your back. For instance, plate spinning. I feel, and I always have, that I just spin so many plates, and as you're getting one nice and true and going, you've got to catch like 5 others before they fall off and fall down. And I suppose the other side of that is just wearing so many different hats, and how you have to go from one moment. Like earlier, I was, writing a response to a dad who's just said that they've got no money, they're going to have to stop their membership. Literally, they have no money. And then Poppy's over, well, probably calling me to go to the toilet to wipe her butt. It's like it's such a sun change a hat that you then got to go back to. So yeah, I suppose that's a normal week when you'd ask, oh, how is it? It's just the logistics of everything is like just crazy at the moment. It feels.
Yeah, well, I've had a lot of messages. You know, we're both running martial arts schools, and we're obviously talking with all these parents and students who are, yeah, if they're telling you they're not paying, the majority of them are, I don't know if you'd say kind enough, but they want to give you the reasoning behind it.
Yeah,
So you're getting people's background story. And we said a few weeks ago, it's been almost nice that we get to know things about people that we never knew before.
hmm.
Like I had a conversation with a mum the other day, and she was saying that the kids are really struggling with having dad home all the time because they're so excited to have him there, but he's working from home. So he's not actually there to be played with or spoke to. He's at his desk, he's got his headphones on, and they keep coming up to him going, Dad, play with me, play with me. And he's in a Zoom meeting or whatever. And he's then lashing out at the kids. Yeah, this wasn't what she
Disrupting
said,
his
but
work.
I can imagine that I can imagine the frustration of it all. That it's just very difficult because it's like you said, he's trying to be a dad, but at the same time he's effectively at work, and then you got the wife and you got everything else going on. So it's I don't have kids yet, so it's something that I can only empathize with but can't sympathize with because I haven't had that experience yet. I know it's coming, but it's not on my plate just
Yeah.
yet.
Well, it. What was I gonna put it as? Well, we have a couple of things actually in our house that we're not allowed to say. One of them is you can't say you're busy because we're always busy. I don't understand what bored is. Someone said it a little while ago. They said they're bored. I don't get what that is. I don't know. Don't understand. If my kids tell me they're bored, it's like, how can you be bored in the world that we live in? I know why people get bored and how they get bored and what it is, but how can you be bored in the world that we live in with so much opportunity to do stuff, to see stuff? Even us as kids didn't have the access to the information that is out there and the connectivity that they've got. I think if this was happening, well, I suppose maybe this kind of thing wouldn't happen when we were kids. Like they wouldn't. Would they have been able to lock down the country in such a way without the same kind of communications and everything? I suppose so.
I suppose so. Yeah, it would certainly be done a bit differently. Maybe there'd be more people on the streets enforcing things there than there is now. I don't know how much the police are having to get involved in terms of actually
Mm.
sending people home and all the rest of it. But yeah, I would imagine it's a bit more face to face and a little less of us getting texts and emails and Facebook updates and all the rest.
Yeah.
Saying that, I still received a physical letter. Did you get one of those?
Yeah, Poppy's had a couple actually really lovely ones from her friends. You mean
Nice.
actually from the? Oh, no, Poppy didn't get one from
The
the
guy.
government. No, I know what you mean now. Yeah, we got
Nice
we
that
got.
her friends are sending her letters, though. That's super cute.
Yeah, that is nice. And yeah, she started one the other week. She sent to Nanny, and Nanny sent one back, and that. So that was good. Yeah, we got physical letters because people have been receiving ones to tell them stay indoors, haven't they? If they're of the vulnerable as well. So they've been told to stay in like for 12 weeks, or well, they've been informed you're ill, stay inside, or you're
Yeah.
vulnerable, stay inside. I think go back to what we said. I mentioned this to someone the other day that gives us a lot of advice from time to time. Is it also like I was saying about wearing all the hats? Like you gave the example of the dad that's forced into being at home right now, but isn't a dad at home. He's at work at home. Is
Mm.
there an element though also for people of a productive curse? I might have even mentioned this before. Can you be overproductive in what you're trying to do? As in, we're productive people. I think we could both list off things that we've done this week that has benefited others as well as benefited ourselves, benefited our businesses, benefited our children, benefited our partners. So, in a summing it all up, I think we're productive people. Does with that come a productive curse, a never-ending to-do list kind of thing?
Well, yeah, it does, doesn't it? Because we speak about that all the time. Burnout is a thing, and feeling overworked, and like the spinning of the plates, and the fact that it just never stops because you get one thing done, but just because of the kind of person you are, you're like, well, those are done. Let's do all of these things over here. So it's never going to stop because you would never let it stop. But at the same time, you don't really want it to stop because, like you said, I think our worst nightmare is being bored. Our worst nightmare is having to be able to sit down and go, I actually have nothing to do, nowhere to be, and therefore almost no purpose. And that's, you're good as dead, right? Once you've run out of purpose.
However, on the flip side, yeah, I think it's purpose, isn't it? I think, yeah, that's a good word to put it. On what does come to mind when you say this, though, is you know what I really enjoy because again I spoke to someone the other day because we were talking about flights and that, like they couldn't fly or wherever they're going, and they were kind of relieved. But I was like, you know what, I love long haul flights.
Because it's
Whereas,
8 hours uninterrupted,
yeah,
unconnected work.
yeah,
Yeah.
that or just like I can remember last time we went to the States, there was a guy behind us just getting into seats, and he was like, "Oh man, I don't know how I'm going to survive this." And I was like, "What? I'm so looking forward to this. If the Buddha was given an opportunity of 8 hours, he'd find enlightenment." It's like that kind of thing. Though it's really weird, isn't it? It's a whole balancing act of
But
things.
that's the only reason you appreciate and value 8 hours of being disconnected and on a plane is because you spend 100, 200 hours in a row of being very, very connected. And
Yeah.
you're on it, you're on your lists, you're on your calls, you're on your emails, you're talking to this guy, you're making this thing happen, and then suddenly there's this pause, which, like you said, it's a forced pause where you're sitting on a plane, no one can get hold of you, everyone knows what you are but they can't get to you, and therefore that then is appreciated. It's kind of, you need the darkness to appreciate the light, and it's
Hmm.
one of them.
I suppose that's what's maybe taken the longest to sort of get one's head round in what we're in like 5 weeks into now.
Yes.
Because prior to this, like especially at the start of this year, I've felt that I have really done well with time management. So like my weekly diary, I've got it down. Excuse me, down to a T now of what I need to do. I've got it split out. Like I was advised a little while ago, if you've got 10 hours of work, only subscribe yourself 6 hours. Only block in 6 hours, 60% of the time that you've got. And then space it. So, if, for instance, you're going to do emails in the morning, leave an hour's gap between what you do next. Okay, don't start then at midday doing marketing. Start at 1 o'clock. So then if you overrun, if someone walks in, if something happens, you've got to clean up. There's always like that gap, and you then don't feel like, oh, I haven't got that done. And yeah, I felt I put my well here. I don't know how well it turns up, but this is like my. I mean, it looks a little bit different at the moment, but say prior to all of this kicking off, I'll find a good week like that. That's my week diary.
Yeah, I'd show you mine, but it's about the same in terms of loads of colors and loads of blocks.
But I love it. I love living it. I know for some people they probably do their head in. But what I found for some reason a bit different about this, what we're in, I feel really frustrated that I should be doing more. And that's kind of that is kind of a little bit of a monkey on my back at the moment. It feels like I should like the other stuff I know is just down to time management. Some weeks are really good, or I come out of a day thinking, yeah, I smashed that. I did some emails, I did some marketing, I did some classes, I did some time with the family, all the things that you wanted to do, and you come out that day like awesome. And then if I don't, I can put it down to time management. But right now, I just feel like it's not even a time thing. I just feel like I should be doing or should have achieved, done more to sort of not fix it. I don't know. Hard to explain, really. I don't know if you felt that.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. It doesn't feel enough at the end of the day a lot of the time. and you've done everything on the lists, or you've done loads on the lists, but you get into bed. I know what you mean. And
Just
there's
now,
not the
it's just
same.
now. This wasn't happening in February. This has only been happening in the last 5 weeks.
Whilst this is happening, yeah, completely. What I've been trying to use, if anyone else is experiencing this, I've been trying to use a daily highlight. So in the morning, I decide one thing where I say, if I can only get this thing done today, I can go to bed at peace. So like, I'm going to get other things done, but this is the big job, the big priority, that if this gets done today and nothing else manages to get done, I will be able to sleep at night, or not sleep at night, but relax at night. So that's what I've been using. And I start each day with one main focus, and then I fill it out in and around that.
Give us an
So when it
example
gets to the end, so example is, for example, this podcast, I had one day where the highlight of the day was to edit and upload and find a hosting platform to get this on. And I knew it would take, let's say, a couple of hours. It wasn't going to take the entire day. But I put that thing up there and said, that will be the thing that's going to hold the high value in the day. So if I get all of that done, which it did, video was edited, we found a hosting platform, YouTube channel was made, distributed everywhere. So Spotify, we're almost approved on Apple. So
awesome.
This week, very awesome. Then I will be happy. And then I still taught my classes. I still updated my student area website. I cleaned the floors. I made dinner. I
cleaned the floors.
I did my exercise. Cleaned the floors.
That's a highlight of your day.
No, this is not. This is it. The video thing's the highlight, and I still got a whole lot of other stuff done. But when it got to the end of the day, and I'm sitting there going, "Did I do enough today?" I'm like, the video got done. We're good, and the floors are clean. Bonus points. Win-win for me.
I was talking to David Holland. He's a business coach out. Shout out to him. Results Rules. At the start of the week, he was doing the thing with a few instructors and that via Nest Management. Again, shout out to them. They're big helpers with us at the moment. And what he suggested, which was a really good advice, and I have actually since Monday been trying to apply it, is reward yourself with downtime. So like you said, kind of have a goal that you're planning to do that day, that week or something. And then once you've achieved it, then reward yourself with the downtime. I think that's what works for me. Like I do put myself, it's a bit weird actually. I've looked back on life and I think I don't know if there's a name for it, but I've always not sort of fought as the underdog or fought for the underdog, not like that, but I've always picked the harder route to go. So like for instance, I used to fight in a tougher division. If I knew there was a more competitive division, I used to fight in that division. I've kind of always taken that approach with everything. I don't know why or if that's really a good thing or not. But yeah, anyway, back to what I was saying. And so I will choose something now. And then I'm going to then give myself or allow myself some downtime as a reward for that. So it was like yesterday, for instance, I could have quite easily have spent all 6 hours of the morning working on what I had to do, emails and all of that. But I gave myself a bit of time off because Monday and Tuesday was such a productive day. It's like, nope, I'm just gonna chill. I'm just gonna take a bit longer to eat breakfast, lunch, and just chill and not and look at a few things on Google a few things that I wanted to just look up and a few things like that. And that's kind of how I've been dealing with that thought and feeling.
It's carefully walking the line between being productive and being busy. It's very easy to just be busy all day and be doing stuff, but not necessarily the thing that's going to move the wheel or move the ship the fastest. So I think at the moment it's very easy to keep yourself busy and lose track of what you should be focused on or what you should be spending your time on to be productive.
So wrapping things up on a positive note then, what's your highlight reel for the weekend then? So what are you going to get to?
As in what's to get done this weekend?
Yeah.
So I try to make sure that the weekends still be weekends and that they don't have business highlights. So it won't be a business highlight. The big one for this weekend is my front garden, which is basically just a weed farm at the minute, not the marijuana
A
weed.
wee farm.
The boring English kind of weeds. I need to de-weed the front garden, and I need to do sealant. You know, that stuff. I need to do sealant. The sinks, the bathroom, they're everything needs to be sealed. And then I will be happy. Anything else that I achieve that weekend will be a bonus. But if the weeds are gone and the bathroom has got fresh white sealant all around it, I will consider the weekend a success.
A success. Ah, good.
Yours?
I like that. Mine. Well, there's a few things. I'm good at giving myself deadlines and things that I have to do. I want to do a family class that we haven't yet done on Zoom on Saturday morning, and then I wanted to get a free trial out as a Zoom on a Saturday as well. So I was planning that to promo tomorrow, and then on Sunday we've got a Wolfpack squad training in the morning. So that kind of things that I feel I'm bound I have to do. So I suppose that doesn't kind of come into it. Well, what else? What else could I put there? It's just I will just walk around and find things, I suppose. I'd like to trim this bonsai. The one, where are we? This one here. I'd like to have that done at the week.
The bush.
Yeah, the bush. That'd be nice to trim the bush, and maybe get the list together for my camper engine. I want to take my camper engine out and put a new one in. So to get that, if I get those two things done, that would feel like a nice weekend. Oh, and more importantly, actually, we're going to go out for a walk. All the cashmen, all the girls are going to go out for a walk. We've got that plan for Saturday. So if I do the walk, let's say, if I do the Cashman walk all together, that would feel like it's a successful weekend.
I think you just hit the nail on the head with it as well, because you said you'll walk around and you'll find things to do. And that's what I mean is you could find all of those things to do in the day and a lot more, and go to bed at night and go, all right. But if you predetermine and decide a few things and put a good amount of value on them and say, no, these are the things I actually really care about this weekend. And if I get those done, plus whatever else, then I'm actually going to be kind of chuffed with it. And it brings a bit of attention to it, because you're going to go on that walk now and you're going to take the time to enjoy that walk and enjoy the family time. And I think you'll appreciate it just that little bit more, because you've decided that's something that's going to be a highlight or an important part of your weekend.
Yeah.
So yeah, everyone out there, daily highlight, pick a thing. Don't be busy, be productive.
Defo do.
Bada boom.
Well, good luck with your highlights, and you're going to do
your walk.
Are you going to do a social of doing all your sealant?
I'll do it. I'll do it all.
Post.
It'll be boomeranged. It'll be super zoomed. I'll get it all in.
Yeah, definitely. Look forward to seeing that. Well, I'll catch you on Sunday morning anyway. But till then,
yes.
Peace out, dude.
Nice one, man. See you next time.
Catch up with you next time. See you later.
Boom.